Here we are at Mountain Gardens. It's June 26th, I believe, and we're looking at Ligusticum canadense, Canada lovage, also known as Boar Hog Root. So this is a plant with these doubly dissected leaves. I think I mentioned in a different video how this sort of leaf pattern, compound leaf pattern, is typical of these areas with dappled woodland shade. So this one here is actually a totally different plant. Goat's beard, black cohosh is the same kind of leaf pattern. This one is Canada lovage. So angelicas in the woods. There are a number of things in the woods that have similar leaves, and it takes a little while to get to distinguish them when they're not in flower. It's Umbellifer family. You can see the little compound umbels. They'll have 5 petals each. So this Ligusticum is a fairly famous genus. They're called lovages. There are several important ones in Chinese medicine. Gao Ben, Ligusticum sinensis, or sinensis, Chuanxiong, Ligusticum chuanxiong, a number of other species quite important in Chinese medicine. And then out west we have several species known as Osha root, Ligusticum porteri, and there are a number of other high altitude species. This is in general a mountain type plant. This one I find growing on ridges, or as the Cherokee Indians say, it grows where the green stops, which means the green herb layer of the cove hardwoods kind of goes up the side of the hill. It's mainly down in the cove, creeps up the side of the hill, and then towards the top where it starts to peter out, that's where you would look for Ligusticum canadense. I find it fairly thick at about 4,000 feet here. And Osha root out west is also a high altitude plant, difficult to grow at low altitudes. This one is not in very many herbal books at all. Well, it's really hard to know why, because it has a very strong aromatic root, very similar to Osha, and a lot of people are calling it Eastern Osha root. Osha root is considered to be the strongest immune boosting herb from the west, from the Rocky Mountains area. And this one has similar. Osha root is kind of famous for the habit of grizzly bears to dig it up and rub it on their faces. No one is exactly sure what that's about. I believe there are some videos online. This has definitely been filmed and discussed at length, what the grizzly bears are doing with this stuff. It seems to make them happy. You know that much. This one has a bit of a reputation as an aphrodisiac, especially among certain cultural groups. They call it Boar Hog Root. Whether that relates to it's giving you sexual potency, but it also might relate to the fact that when you dig it up, there are bristles, which are the remains of last year's leaf stalk. And I'm told that the Osha root similarly has these bristles that if you dig up the root, will be found on top of the root. Very difficult root to dig up. It kind of goes like a wishbone straight down, and it's usually in mountain, rocky terrain mingled amongst tree roots, so somewhat challenging to harvest really nice roots in decent shape. Another reason that this interests me a lot is that it's one of the favorite spring greens of the Cherokee Indians, the Indians who inhabited this part of the country. They have a number of plants that they like to eat in the springtime, Solomon seal and tall bellflower. We'll do a video about that one. Mandarin bells, which is one nobody much thinks of eating, but they like to eat it. And this one, Boar Hog Root, or Canada lovage. So I think this is going to be a very good plant for folks to begin growing, introducing to your woods. All right, it's early October, and we have been out harvesting Boar Hog Root. So we have a little bit of this in the garden, but we mostly go out into the woods to get it, and this is found typically on the higher ridges. The Cherokees say it's where you find it where the green stops, which is a way of saying it's just at the drier end of the cove hardwood, where you have the more or less continuous layer of green herbs on the ground, which you don't have under the oak hickory plant community. So at the drier end of that, which is usually the more uphill side, is where you can go looking for this boar hog root. It's on a lot of the ridges around here, around 4,000 feet. I don't know what its distribution is like elsewhere, so we've dug a number of roots. This is a very difficult one to dig. The roots go kind of straight down. These are quite dry now. They're very shriveled up. We dug these about a week ago. The roots have a way of going straight down, and of course there's plenty of rocks and roots and everything else. It's very hard to get a root out entire. You can see these are a little bit bashed up. These bristles at the top are very distinctive. If you're digging this plant, that's like a signature for it. That might be one of the reasons why it's called boar hog root. It has all these bristles, which is the remains of previous year's leaf stalks. We usually brush that off when we're going to tincture it. So there's the root, and the other thing that's distinctive about it is the smell. It has a very strong, I don't know how to describe it, medicinal kind of aroma, very similar to osha root from out west. A lot of people call this eastern osha root. I sell it primarily to black people in the South, for whom in that culture is considered an aphrodisiac. I believe that's why they're buying it. It also has a reputation of being good for covering up alcohol on your breath. Some people apparently carry it in their car for that purpose. So we were out collecting this last week, end of September, and at that point it was just starting to disappear. The leaves turn yellow and vanish pretty quickly, but the flower stalk still remains. It's an umbellifer, typical umbellifer flowers. We collected quite a lot of seed. Stalks can be as much as 3 to 4 feet tall, although the actual leaves, you know, of one that doesn't flower are just going to be on the ground. But most of the ones that didn't flower had already vanished, so we were primarily digging ones that had previously flowered, which are of course the biggest ones. So right around the end of September is the time to go after this, or maybe the middle of September. We were actually a little bit late this year.